Hello and welcome into the newest episode of Pat's Latest. I'm your host, Mike Gambardella. The dust has settled on the T. Higgins bombshell, but we are just 3 weeks away from the new league year starting up in the NFL, and the Patriots are going to have plenty of work in front of them to go from a 4-win team to potentially competing for a playoff spot in 2025. From there, we'll start with the best turnarounds in the NFL and the question around how far the Patriots actually could turn around their season, going from what will be the number 4 pick in the NFL draft to having some lofty expectations in Mike Vrabel's first year. It just came out that he is tied for the betting favorite for Coach of the Year with Ben Johnson. Now, again, those are more for, we'll say, coaches who inherit situations that could be prime for quick turnarounds. So if you take the top pick from last year's NFL draft and the number 3 overall pick from that draft, both happen to be quarterbacks and acquitted themselves very well in year one, sets up for some success for their new head coaches. But looking back over the past 10 years, the top 5 turnarounds that we've seen from a very bad year to success in that very next season starts with the Cleveland Browns in 2018, where they actually went 0-16 to that next season, finishing third in their division at 7-8-1. Not a winning season, but after having a winless season, not too bad. The Carolina Panthers in 2015 actually went 7-8-1, that same record the Browns managed in 2018. They made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Cam Newton had that MVP season. They ended up losing that game, but it shows that you can go from missing the playoffs from one year to getting all the way to the Super Bowl. The Washington Commanders last year had the same record as the Patriots do now and made it to the NFC Championship game last season. We've talked about how the Commanders are that blueprint for what the Patriots potentially could follow to be successful in 2025. Obviously, they will have their work cut out for them with the Buffalo Bills ahead of them and potentially the Miami Dolphins reloading to get back towards the top of the AFC East. But the other two teams that actually have better records and are tied for first overall, the 2016 Dallas Cowboys went 4-12 and then finished 13-3 before losing in the divisional round. And the 2019 San Francisco 49ers went 2018, and before in 2019 going 13-3 overall and also advanced to the Super Bowl. They did lose, however. So 5 great examples of teams turning it around, showing that you can make it as far as the Super Bowl. While none of those teams did win, showing that there is a path forward for Drake May and the New England Patriots to have some success. And that top turnaround we saw just 6 years ago with those 49ers came with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. We'll hold that and put a pin in it before we get back to it. But again, plenty of options and pathways forward for the New England Patriots to follow and for Mike Vrabel to start to look at what he might want to instill along with Josh McDaniels in that offense and trying to get that defensive unit back up to snuff here in 2025. Looking at some of those free agents that could potentially help out the New England Patriots, the ESPN top NFL analyst Jeremy Fowler actually put out his top 50 NFL free agents and where he thought each of them would land. Obviously, T. Higgins at the top of that actually had him to the Washington Commanders, and we'll see if that actually affects what goes on with him, but not pairing him with the Patriots up front. However, he did pair the Patriots with 3 of the top 50 free agents on his list, and not bad for a New England team, again, that just won 4 games, and being able to get 3 of those top guys speaks volumes. The top one, New York Jets cornerback DJ Reed, actually staying in division and coming over to pair quite the defensive duo with Christian Gonzalez. This is one that I'm sure Mike Vrabel and the rest of the Patriots front office will truly look at, being able to get a number 2 cornerback who's played that role already next to Sauce Gardner. You'd have to pay a decent amount to go get him, but with the free agent dollars that the Patriots have, sets up for them to be able to do that. And again, getting that lockdown, close to lockdown cornerback next to Christian Gonzalez, a priority for the New England Patriots. The next one up, and by the way, DJ Reed was ranked as the number 4 free agent on Jeremy Fowler's list. Next up for the Patriots, actually pairs them with 2 top 10 selections, getting Philadelphia Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams. You heard his name in the Super Bowl as he made life difficult on Patrick Mahomes. He comes over to New England in Fowler's latest prognostications, and Milton is a young disruptor inside. Again, you're going to have to pay top dollar to get a guy that's under 30 years old and making a name for himself right now, but could pair well inside with Davin Godchow and hopefully getting Christian Barmore back from those blood clots that he suffered through this past season as well. The final of those top 50 actually makes it top 40, and the Patriots address the need at offensive tackle and get their Rams left tackle, Alaric Jackson. The late pick actually has now really stepped up, gone from 6th rounder to starting left tackle and going to get paid here as well. And someone, don't be surprised to see his name attached to the Patriots through the next 3 weeks here. And the holes need to be filled, and those are the top ones, right? It's going to be defensive back in the trenches. You're going to hear that again and again with Mike Vrabel at the helm, and getting the defensive tackle and the offensive tackle. This also means no Chris Godwin from Jeremy Fowler, so he's locked in as just about anybody, so take this to heart. Godwin, he has going back to Tampa Bay. Josh Sweat, the defensive end from the Philadelphia Eagles, actually going to Arizona, not the Patriots. Dre Greenlaw, the linebacker from the 49ers, going to the Colts, and Darius Slayton, New York Giants wide receiver, making his way over to Carolina. So some interesting things to see play out, but good news to see that there are several NFL insiders who are already projecting that the Patriots will go after many of the top free agents once the new league year opens on March 12th. Next up for the Patriots is looking at the NFL draft, and Daniel Jeremiah, the NFL draft insider from NFL.com, actually has now put out his second draft, and for the second straight one has locked in the Patriots to the same player, LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell. Now, this could very well be the pick dependent upon what the Patriots do in free agency. There could be a huge need, and if he blows the combine out of the water, could absolutely be it. There is more to be said here that it focuses on the absolute need for the Patriots in that they must fill their holes on the offensive line. And if they're not able to do that in free agency, Will Campbell should be the selection at 4, no questions asked. I do believe they will be able to address some of those needs in free agency, whether it's Alaric Jackson, whether it's Ronnie Stanley, who is at the top of those offensive tackle free agent list, or several other players who could actually fill those roles, which makes the need for Will Campbell much less severe. For me, the Patriots hopefully will get the chance to either trade back from that number 4 pick and pick up some more assets, or see Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter slide back and pick up one of the 2 top players in this draft. You're not always that lucky for something to play out like that. But again, if your luck matches up in the same way and you're not able to really address the offensive line the way that you wish, then yes, you should be looking at Will Campbell at the top of the draft and potentially needing to stay at 4 if the deals that you deem are what your team's needs are not to that level. You're not just going to make a deal just to make it, to slide all the way back in the first round and pass on a lot of players that can immediately help your team for more question marks further back in the draft. But seeing Daniel Jeremiah put Will Campbell to the Patriots in his second straight mock draft is very telling, but I think more in this scenario for what the Patriots lack than what Will Campbell can potentially bring, especially with a lot of questions around him and what his long-term position is. He could potentially kick inside to guard eventually later in his career. But again, the combine, very important for Will Campbell. If he blows it out of the water, could actually answer a lot of those questions and make life easier for the Patriots, especially if free agency does not go the way that they would like it to at the end of the day. We'll wrap up today talking about veteran quarterbacks and who will be the mentor for Drake May and Joe Milton in this Patriots offense. They have two very, very good young quarterbacks. Drake May, obviously the number 3 pick from last year's draft, and Joe Milton, the late round pick who won an NFL game, his first career start, granted against the Bills' second stringers, but showing that the Patriots do at least have QB1 and QB2 pretty well wrapped up. But with a new system being put in place by Josh McDaniels, a new offensive coordinator for both of these guys, the value in having a third quarterback, especially a veteran, is very, very important for this young Patriots quarterback room. There's a couple options we've already talked about on some of the earlier episodes of Pat's latest. One of those is Marcus Mariota, who actually backed up Jaden Daniels for the Commanders last year. Would make sense to have a guy who has some scrambling ability paired with May and Milton, who both have shown acumen in that area as well. If the Patriots decide that they don't necessarily need that, and having a guy that can really just show them how to be a pro in the NFL is more important, you could look at guys like Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton actually scratched off that list because he signed earlier yesterday with the Carolina Panthers to stay as Bryce Young's backup. But someone like Joe Flacco could fit that mold if he wants to stay another season. Guy who's won a Super Bowl, guy who can mentor and really show, hey, this is what it takes to win in the NFL. Not a bad thing for May and Milton. Two other names to keep an eye on because of their familiarity with Josh McDaniels' system, especially should he decide to keep it more the same, then change things up for May and Milton and their scrambling ability. First one is Jarrett Stidham, who had the stint in Denver and knows the system well, even though playing a little bit less on the back end of it with the past few years with the Patriots and how that has gone. And the other one is that name we said to keep a pin in from earlier in the episode is Jimmy Garoppolo. He also is a free agent. He would cost a lot more than these other guys because he probably has more tread on the tires and would be more of a luxury having May and Milton and knowing that Jimmy is that third stringer, and potentially you could actually drop Joe Milton to that emergency situation if you wanted Jimmy to really have the reins and how fast these guys get up to speed with the playbook. But something to keep back pocket, especially if the starting jobs, for the Raiders, for the Titans, for the Browns, for the Giants, start to dry up with either other free agent signings or NFL draft picks. Jimmy could have a chance to, quote unquote, come home again and have a chance to get back in the locker room and have a chance to do things a little bit differently later here in his career. So several options for the Patriots. We, again, are just 3 weeks away from that new league year starting. So this Patriots roster is going to look very, very different in just a short amount of time. So before we get there, make sure you get into our comments. Let us know who you think the Patriots should be targeting right now. Who are the top players in free agency? What are their biggest needs? And if they don't get them in free agency, who are they getting in the draft? Be sure to subscribe for our channel, turn your notifications on to get our daily updates, and make sure you like this video and our previous episodes. Be sure to stay with us for everything coming out for your New England Patriots, and fight on, Foxborough.